Was WWE one of the things on your list of things that you want to do, and to be able to just try that on for size and see what that experience is like at all, or no?
It depends. I don't know. So, are you familiar with kind of how I got into wrestling? Like I've said this out there a bunch of times, but I don't know if people. Have you heard about the WrestleMania
Let's
trip?
get into it.
Okay,
Oh,
I
no,
wasn't
I
sure.
don't know the WrestleMania trip. Let's hear
Okay,
it.
here we go. So this is how kind of I used to watch wrestling. When I started watching in 2004. So when I was, I don't know, 11, 12, maybe a little bit later than some. Wasn't big in New Zealand. Watched it for a few years. Kind of grew out of it mid-teenage years. 18, finished school. Joined the army really quick as an officer, but it wasn't for me. Left that. Ended up working for a friend's dad on construction sites. And the radio channel, they said, "Oh, we're doing a competition. Call up, yada yada. You'll go in the draw to win everything paid for. Go to WrestleMania." So this is 2011, early 2011. I was like, "Oh shit, okay." Always wanted to. That would be cool. Used to watch it back in the day, a few years ago. Why not? Called up. Had to do some competition against somebody else. I won that. They put me in the draw. They did that for weeks.
What was like the competition?
It was. What did they do? I had to debate the other cooler, and they didn't tell you whether you were for or against it. They would just tell you how to do it. I had to debate that like chick flicks were the best thing in the world or something, and I managed to do some. I managed to approach it with something where you're like something about it's easy to take a girl out on a date with chick flicks or something like that. And so I won that. Went in the draw. I only went in the draw to do that, and then again a couple of weeks later, sat on site and they're like, "Oh, we're doing the draw." Sat next to the radio, had my phone out, and I hear them dial the numbers, beep beep beep. And my phone goes, "Oh shit!" Jump up, yelling, "What the hell?" So I won flights, tickets, hotel, everything paid for me and a friend to go from New Zealand to Atlanta, Hall of Fame ceremony, WrestleMania, and then come back from that. So that's kind of, at that point, the only wrestling I ever knew of was WWE. Like it wasn't big in New Zealand, let alone any of the other companies. And again, this is 2011, so I didn't even know New Japan existed, other than. Well, I knew they existed, but I never kind of watched it. When I know guys like Eddie Guerrero and stuff had come through, and Jericho and all that. Mm-hmm. So kind of from there, we went to WrestleMania, and it kind of just, I don't know, re-inspired me. And it was as simple as, well, I never would have thought I'd go to WrestleMania, let alone win it on a trip on a radio station. So it's like, well, I always wanted to be when I was younger. So if this could happen, why can't that happen? That kind of just, I don't know, it just like clicked in me that it's like, well, I'm just going to do it then. So then 2012. So that's what kind of inspired it, to get back to your original question.
Wow.
So I
that's
guess
crazy. Then, also, like, damn, what a gift from a radio station. I didn't know they had that kind of cash to throw around. Shit.
I know. Very nice. And again, they let me take a friend as well, all paid for. So I can't imagine what the total bill would have been for on that. But that's kind of how I got back into it. And then, if that didn't happen, I probably wouldn't be here doing wrestling, because 2012, I then left. When I had a little gap here in the UK in 2013, I just moved to England, started from scratch, started training at a wrestling school there, because I knew that there was no wrestling in New Zealand or anywhere else. And honestly, the way that it made sense in my mind is that America's number one, England's kind of like the little brother for opportunity and stuff like that. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But at the time, that's what I thought, and hey, it worked out.
That's pretty crazy to have not trained. You moved to England to do this. What if you didn't like it? That's a
great
lot.
Question. That's a great question. That's what the guy said to me the first night that I trained as well. He's like, "Don't you think it would have been good to try this first?" I was like, "Yeah, but I'm here now, so this is it, I guess." Yeah. My way was, if I really threw myself into it and kind of gave myself no choice but to do it and succeed, that was just the best way for me to do it at the time.
Was there anybody of any note that was in there with you when you were training to get started? Like guys that you kind of came up with during that time?
Oh yeah. And just to touch on this story, I don't know if I went the whole time when I went to England and stuff. I never told anybody that I was planning on wrestling. By the way, I kept that to myself until I basically got to England. Parents didn't know.
Oh my God!
I know. First time
How old were you?
2013, so I would have been 20. I got there at 20, and I turned 21 later in 2013.
Oh my God!
I'm off. I feel like my date's off. I was either 21 or 22, around there.
That's so funny.
First time I told my mum, I was actually at the arena at Portsmouth Guildhall before the show, and I was like, "Oh yeah, so this is actually what come to do it. I'm debuting tonight. So that was the first time I
What did she say?
told her. I think she was just kind of shocked. Like, oh, okay. Like, I mean, cool. Like, obviously supportive and cool. I can't exactly remember, obviously, but she obviously very supportive. Just, I'm sure, very surprised because they had no idea.
It's so funny thinking back to like that age. Because when I think to myself being that age, like I was 19, packed up my bags to move to Los Angeles. I'm like, I'm going to go be an actress.
Yep.
I had done like one commercial, a couple music videos. Like I was not ready to move to Hollywood to do that. But I'm like, here I go. But it's so funny to think of like that bold, younger version of yourself that's just like, it, this is a thing that I'm going to do. And I'm leaning 100% into it. And it's like hindsight is 2020. Like, oh my God, I'm so glad that I did that. But I wish that you could like carry that boldness with you. I feel like it goes away over time.
Yes, thank you. Because I was just about to say this. Like when you said like that boldness back then, I don't know if I would have that now. Like all the stuff that I kind of just basically just having the guts to go and do that without any sort of guarantee or nothing. That's like, I feel like now that I'm a little bit older, I don't know if I'm too sensible to think that I could do that.
Blind confidence or something.
Yes.
You're just like, this is what I'm going to do, and it is what it is.
Yeah, it's weird. I definitely agree. I feel like you do lose that a little bit. Maybe it's because I got comfortable or something, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I could be able to do that again. Who knows?
Well, I think it's like, I don't know, responsibility starts to kick in where it's like, okay, now I've got to have a mortgage, or like, oh, you're in a relationship or whatever. There's all these other real life factors that start to creep in that ground you to wherever you are, that make you kind of plant your roots, whether you had intended to or not. But I like the fact that you were able to do that, that I was able to do that, like I wouldn't change a damn thing. And I feel like everybody should have that experience to like, just go try something.
Exactly. 100%. Like some of my coolest memories are like nothing fancy at all. It's like me riding my shitty bike through the pouring rain in Portsmouth because I've just done a 12-hour shift working at the gym, and now I've got to go to wrestling training. Now I've got to bike back through this kind of shitty area. But like thinking about on that stuff, like you said, wouldn't change any of it. None of it. Anytime I go back there, I love walking around that same area where I first lived. The first place I had there, I had to it was like a student house, and the bedroom that I had, they'd converted it into one from like an upstairs small bathroom. And these houses in England, they're all conjoined, it's very small. Like you couldn't open a suitcase on the floor, basically.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, it's just things like that, cool memories like that. Like you said, wouldn't change any of it. And before I forget, you mentioned if there's anyone I train with of note. I think biggest name that I could think of off the top of my head would be Jamie Hayter. So she because she came in and she actually started training. I trained under a guy called UK Kid, Tom Jones, obviously not the singer. His company there was BPW.
Not unusual to be loved by anyone.
Exactly. I'm sure he'd do a great rendition of it anyway. But we actually shared a wall, our training facility, with Revolution Pro. And so they had other guys there and stuff. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but we had Jamie Hayter. She came in. I can't remember when she started training us for a little bit. And then I think we might have been there for a year together, but so it's really cool seeing how she's blown up since then as well.
She's crushing it. She's she absolutely is. What a great like look she has. I'm a fan.
She's done a great job transforming with that as well, because she's jacked now, and she never used to be that jacked before, so she's done awesome.
That's like one of my favorite things is seeing like the throwback photos to people when they first started, and they're like these kids, these like scrawny kids that like don't really know what they're doing, and then you see someone like transform into this star. It's funny. I was thinking about that with Becky Lynch the other day. She was posting some pictures of when she first started talking about how long greatness can take. It takes a long time. And you look at that first version of her when she first started wrestling, in Ireland, to this beast that she has become at WrestleMania. She comes out with a mullet. She's got this whole new look, and it's like, it's cool. I love that stuff like that does take time.
I think so,
some people think that it feels like it's this overnight sensation, and it's not. It's like those years and years of grinding that nobody sees.
Yep, 100%. And it does make it so much more enjoyable for those watching as well. If you can see that whole kind of story from the start. And I think that's probably the best thing with the New Japan Young Lions system, is that they get to see these guys come in at such an early stage, and they get to watch their journey. Some fans, they may catch on to stuff now, but when I'm doing signings and stuff, they say, "Oh, we've watched you since Young Lion days," and you can just tell that they just have such a bigger appreciation for everything because they've seen it all and they've kind of been along that journey with you. So it is always good when you can kind of track back and see the early days and stuff like that. Yeah, it's always good.